pending case against Lieutenant Commander Tim White. We, quote, have no plans to charge Commander Tim White. And this one, there is, quote, no case against Lieutenant Commander Tim White. These are words from Commander Charles Summers, who is the Director of Public Affairs at the U.S. Naval Reserve. He called me this morning, a few minutes before our get-together here at the David Tulis Show, and wanted me to be aware of this. We have been publishing the legal scenario facing the Chattanooga-based installation commanding officer, the ICO, here at the facility along Amnicola Drive. This man, Tim White, is the one who fired a weapon against Muhammad Abdulaziz, the faithful Muslim man who found God. And in finding God, the God of the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah, the three books that are the pillars of Islam, he found that God and determined that he would bear arms against the kafirs, the infidels, and that was July 16, just a couple months ago, and he killed five men. Finally, he killed 4 on the spot with a 30 caliber rifle, an AK-47 style rifle, I believe it was. We don't really know that either. Some kind of Chacom round. I think it's 30 by 30, 39 by something like that. I don't know, some kind of a deer rifle type bullets in his magazine. Killed 4 and fatally injured a 5th man after first shooting up the recruitment center off of Lee Highway, there near the bridge over Highway 153. Well, he was shot dead finally by various firings by the Chattanooga Police Department, and even Lieutenant against Tim White. And my analysis of the rules that governed the presence of private weaponry on the facility suggested a kind of a minefield for Lieutenant White's defense. And we suggest that there has been a case, certainly a prospect of a case against him, and whether one is filed against him for violating the rules regarding weapons, which at best are ambiguous in his case. The rules are ambiguous, and at best we have suggested his defense, and the defense goes, you could go by a couple names. One is the Good Samaritan defense, and the other is the defense of necessity. And I've suggested that the necessity defense says essentially that, well, if a man rushes across the street to push an old lady out of the path of a runaway garbage truck, well, the accusation that he jaywalked is certainly possible, but his defense is, well, it was of necessity that I rushed across the street, not minding the go light, the walk light, and helped this old lady to the sidewalk as the garbage truck barreled past the place moments before she had been standing. Well, his defense is the Good Samaritan defense or the necessity defense. Now, my thinking about Lieutenant Commander Tim White is that he has that defense, but the prosecution against him would try to pry that defense away from him and not let him use it, and it would do so in this way. It would say, well, we're not contesting his use of the weapon, that it was good and right and true, bold, brave, courageous, and part of his duty to defend the lives of his men. But we are concerned of his seeming disregard of several points of paperwork that are that require the registration of weapons with the ICO. Of course, that was him, and the seeming disregard for the rule of law in the Navy, and that's the reason. And so we're not in our prosecution attacking his use of the weapon. We're attacking the things that occurred beforehand, right? In his full knowledge. He was certainly aware of what he was doing, and he was disregarding a rule, and this simply cannot be allowed for the morale of our service. and all the men in it. We have to make an example of him. We can't have these rules and then have officers no less, lieutenant commanders, blithely disregard them on the pretense that they're protecting their own men. These rules are there for a purpose. They are for the orderly government of our division, of our department, and we really need to stand by these rules, because otherwise we just have chaos. So that's the line of argument that would be used by a Navy prosecutor out of the JAG office if that were to come. But Commander Charles Summers says that there is no case against Lieutenant Commander Tim White. There is no pending case against Lieutenant Commander Tim White. There are no plans to charge him. In other words, that means there are no plans right now to charge him. And I understand that, but to me, this is ambiguous. It's ambiguous because you can have no pending plans, and yet you can have an idea that this man needs to be charged for the rule of law, for the safety of the rule of law, for the necessity that the Marines, the Navy, have rules that are not purposeless. They are not there. They're not so much dicta, right? They are, in fact, law. They're not just extraneous words that are written down that you read when you join the Navy and then forget about. No, they're there because they govern the orderly life of a Navy facility. And not even the commanding officer of that facility is exempt. Not even the man who gives waivers and grants for the private presence of weapons, the presence of to laugh at this point. You're saying, well, those are just rules, and they're not the life of the Navy. The life of the Navy is courage, men, honor, bravery, and things like that, of which we saw ample evidence on July 16 along Amnicola Highway on that very exciting day, where you and maybe another listener or two found our station, because we were the only station in the Chattanooga market which had continual coverage through the whole thing, from the very first glimmerings that there was a shooter situation to the end of a very long and difficult and trying day, a day of death, a day of injury, of fear, of rushing about, of people all trying to do the right thing, trying to figure out what do we need to do, what is the situation, of dismay. In the end, it was a day of dismay and grief. And of course, Wednesday here in Chattanooga, we had the tribute for the men who lost their lives and an effort to raise funds on their behalf. And so it was a great to do with a flyover of the flying of the Blue Angels and other events, the flying over of great rhetoric, right? There were great spouts of rhetoric, some unfavorable to the president, the federal president. And so we know that there's a great deal of attention brought to this slaughter of American soldiers. And of course, what the marketers of events like that do is they keep talking about the tragedy, and so on. Well, the tragedy has a cause, it has an origin, and that origin are the holy books of the Muslim religion, which is the source. The source of this is not any particular Muslim person. It's not anyone who bows the knee before Allah with Bassam Isa, here of Chattanooga, the developer, who's often quoted as a kind of representative of the Muslim religion here. No individual Muslim is in view, really, when we talk about the threat of Islam. It's the religion itself. It's the conception, the intellectual conception, the spiritual dynamic, the grip of the dogma, the doctrine of Islam that is so powerful and really so intimidating, because Islam doesn't win, as Christianity does, by persuasion of God's grace. No, Islam expands by the persuasion of the barrel, the roar of detonations of body bombs and the like. And so there's this great conflict. And all right, so the point is here, we got to get to the news. The point is that Lieutenant Commander, according to the Navy spokesman, Commander Charles Summers, is not facing prosecution. But to me, I confess my skepticism, because almost all look at other fields as well. The whole FOMC, the Federal Reserve Bank, yesterday deciding that, or announcing a decision that it will not try to raise interest rates. Even there, you have official statements which we have to say are meant to It's meant to make what is at stake. And my name is David Tulis, and I do thank you for giving me a couple of minutes of your time here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are the station that lets you report and the world decide. This is the number 4 show here. I'm struggling to get ahead of Russell on Digital Drive, whom we have in the afternoon, our national star. And then there's number 3. Number 3 is either Keon Rose of Clutch, our sports show at 1 o'clock. It could be. There's a tough fight for third between Keon and Tex. There I am in the back. I'm just amazed that I can't do better for you than what I've got to offer. So I do thank you for giving me just a couple of minutes of your time and for bearing with me and my many faults as host. I do admit I am a Chattanooga boy, and I don't have the foreign flavor which would make me an expert, right? I'm just the guy down the street who's been here most of my life, born here in Chattanooga Memorial Hospital, and a native son. If I were from Chicago, or maybe if I were from Boston, then I could be the expert. Then you'd have to listen to me, right? Because I'm from out of town, and I'm brought in here to tell the truth. You have to consult with me to find out what's happening. But not the case. I'm just the local homegrown boy with a little bit of foreign extraction by dint of God's providence. Nothing that I've really done on my own. Well, we are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and we are live on YouTube. The YouTube channel for our station is Hot News Talk Radio. How about that? And online, it's hotnewstalkradio.com. And on your smartphone, you get this app. It's the TuneIn Radio app, and just select us as a favorite, Hot News Talk Radio, and there we are. And we are trying to provide a great public service. And we have things to look at today, and I do thank you for giving me a couple of minutes of your time. So the Fed, in the Times Free Press story today about the Fed's decision yesterday to not raise interest rates, has the whole story told from the perspective of the consumer. And of course, I guess that's fine. Borrowing for a house, well, you continue to be subsidized by the national government through its key lender. It's the bankers bank the lender, which is the Federal Reserve System, and so that is something we can expect. What that means is, though, that in a nutshell, while you may be glad that you if you're going to borrow for a house, that you're not going to have to pay as much in interest rate. You won't have to pay for your house 2 1/3 times, only 2 times. Okay, I guess that's the benefit for having an interest rate that's not going to go up. The real situation is, of course, is internationally, and the Fed says we can't raise interest rates. We cannot allow for a real pricing signal to work anymore. We have to continue to suppress the real signal of price, which is interest rates, because if we allow it to change, if we allow the forces of the marketplace to have their way, the price of interest would go up, and then we would lose control of the whole system. And how's that? Well, if interest rates go up, there'll be a capital flight from other economies around the world to the American green rectangle, which is, of course, a scrofulous, cancerous, should be bedridden medium of Article 1, Section 10 of the Federal Constitution. Therefore, it has not just a poisoned moral base, violating God's laws against false weights and measures, theft, and coveting, but also violating constitutional provisions. And we're going to continue to have prosperity by allowing that instrument to have our full faith and credit, right? Well, the problem is, if you raise interest rates, you destroy the world economy, and capital will flood here, making the dollar stronger, furthering the American dollar's gain over other paper currencies. But the problem is, if you leave them as they are, you make a false stimulus. You are continuing the great booze party, and the domestic economy, especially those at the very high end of it, will continue to be able to get money essentially for free. They'll be able to pull their straight body trucks up to the Fed wharf and have the Fed shovel money into the backs of their trucks. That's what's happening now. And that creates tremendous malinvestment. We have an American economy that is awaiting a great conflagration, a forest fire, if it comes or when it comes, that will clear away vast acres, tons and tons of deadwood, which is so rotten it can't even be harvested for lumber. Okay, it's so bad it cannot even be harvested for beams to be sold later at Floyd's Hardware. Okay, the local economy hardware store in Saudi Daisy. Not even there. It's not good enough even for that, or for Lowe's or Home Depot. And so we have that. Now on the Superior Creek Lodge story, I had a chat late last night with East Ridge journalist Dick Cook. Dick Cook runs a news website for East Ridge, a local-centric news hub, and it's called East Ridge News. Let's see, East Ridge News online.com, I think it's called. And just look it up if you want to go there. And he's been covering the Superior Creek Lodge story. And the number, I think the main thing when you want to report is the number. Initially, it would have been 1,500 people were ousted last Wednesday, 2 Wednesdays ago, and Thursday. The number, he says, is kind of a concoction of the Chattanooga Times-Free Press that got that number from, he does not know where. Jerry Summers 2 days ago in an interview here on our station said the number is 450 people, but Dick Cook thinks that it's 800 based on a conversation he had with David Geisen, the owner of Superior Creek Lodge, who said that there were 800 residents there at the time. So 800 is the number that Dick Cook, the local journalist on the scene, is reporting. And so that I've been correcting myself twice now on what the numbers are. So that seems to be the most accurate number. And I would believe Dick Cook, an experienced, longtime journalist for many years at the Chattanooga Times-Free Press. In the same time that I was there as an editor, Dick Cook was a writer. He was a sports writer before that. So that's an important number. And we are considering and thinking about the motivations behind this. And my explanation for you is that we have with East Ridge a perfect picture of what's called commercial government. And you say, well, that's a boring phrase. That doesn't suggest fighting words at all. It doesn't sound like you're criticizing it at all. Well, to call government commercial government is to point out that government has gone beyond its biblical scope, the scope that the scriptures would give to the magistrate, to the judge. And government is now merchant, government as capitalist. And the capitalism practiced by a municipal government is parasitical. It is called parasitical government, or parasitical, even predatory capitalism. Its wealth comes from the creation not long ago of the development district, which is involved in retail tourism. It's under a relatively new provision of Tennessee law that's called the Border. I'm going to try to get this out in one breath, okay, but it's going to be a bit of a strain. The Border Region Retail Tourism Development District Act. You got that? Dick Cook says he's read it 2 or 3 times and still doesn't really understand it. I've read it once and marked it. My copy runs about 10 pages. And what it does essentially, it gives East Ridge a take of the state sales tax money stream to the tune of 75% for I think 30 years, and that is a kind of a subsidy for border regions that lose retail business to lower tax neighboring states, Georgia being one of them. There's a much lower sales tax on food and other things in Georgia, so people cross the border, don't shop in Tennessee. Tennessee does not collect the sales tax, and so border towns, if they create these large retail investments such as Pro Bass Shops, right, which is going in right now at Jordan's Landing in East Ridge, they can increase their wealth as municipal corporations by having 75% of the state's tax take, right? The East Ridge gets its own tax take in the statute, which is about 3 or 4%, around 3%, and the county gets some of that, and then the state's largest portion goes to the state, and East Ridge, the government, gets 75% of that for a long time. Hence the attack, the raid, a raid without due process, a raid denying the constitutional rights of poor people, let's say 800 poor people in Superior Creek Lodge. That is very bad news for the marketplace, very bad news for the free market. We are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, covering local economy and the free market. Love your neighbor, buy local. That's my argument. Now, the question that we're going to look at is a tax. Should you, my listener, be taxed to have access to public record? What do you think about that? Should you be taxed?
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
After this briefly cool start, expect lots of sunshine for today. Warming up, highs near 85. Tonight, lows closer to 60. For Saturday, lots of sunshine, still dry, highs very warm into the upper 80s with more clouds, lower 80s on Sunday. When it comes to your salary, you may know what you want, but not what you can get. Learn the ranges for accounting and finance by visiting accounttemps.com/salary center. That's AccountTemps, a Robert Half company. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
That smells so good. Smells like a big Italian dinner. But you're going to walk out with two. Buy one hot pizza, get a one for free. 2 pizzas. You get the 2 for the price of 1 at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. My favorite Italian restaurant of all the time. Now, I'm living in Hickson. I go to Raphael's right down the street in Hickson Pike, right near Highland Plaza. You're in Saudi Daisy? Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria in Saudi Daisy. Just next to Saudi Daisy Church of God. Hey, you're on Signal Mountain. There's a Raphael's Italian Restaurant and a Pizzeria. It's right on the main drag. You're going to love the pasta, the pizza. Buy one hot pizza, get a one for free. 2 pizzas. You get the 2 for the price of 1 at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Tastes so good. Bring the whole family. Come on, Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Mangia. Salute.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducks. Call now.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. A friend of the alleged Charleston church shooter expected to make his first court appearance today.
21-year-old Joey Meek says he called to report it when he recognized his school friend Dylan Roof on surveillance video after 9 black church members were murdered in Charleston during a Bible study in June. But Meek has been under federal investigation for possibly lying to investigators and failing to report a crime. He previously told AP Roof had been staying with him occasionally. Fox Radio's Lisa Brady, AP says that according to sources, the Marine Corps is expected to ask that women not be allowed to compete for several frontline combat jobs. And it's playoff time for NASCAR outside the Windy City.
NASCAR Sweet 16 kicks off the chase for the Sprint Cup Trophy at Chicagoland Speedway for the first of 3 Challenger races. The rules are simple. Win and you're in, as a trip to victory lane automatically sends a driver to the next round.
Fox Radio's Rich Dennison, Fox News. We report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
This is David Tulis. We're brought to you by Superior Air Systems, the HVAC company with the bright orange vans in the Chattanooga area. Superior Air Systems, 886-6602. And also, since we are talking about, we have been talking about the marketplace and the Fed's artificial suppression of the rate of interest, the signal of future value. We have artifice there, great danger, and no doubt further turbulence and continuing malinvestment in the marketplace. If you have questions about your investments, contact Patrick Neal. Patrick Neal is the Edward Jones broker here in Hickson. His number is 870-7894. That's Patrick Neal, the Edward Jones broker to talk to, 870-7894. And I've had long conversation with Patrick, and he's a very sound family man. He's a homeschool dad and very conservative. Edward Jones is the largest privately owned brokerage house in the country and is not under the kind of pressure that publicly traded brokerages are. You will not be churned as a client of Patrick Neal. Also, just wanted to remind you that if you get a pizza from Raphael's Pizzeria, an Italian restaurant, you get a standard issue bit of inflation, if you will, and that's this. You buy one pizza, and wow, you got 2. Okay, so you buy one, and you get 1 pizza free. In addition to that, there are 3 outlets for Raphael's, a great local economy player, local restaurant. I've got a few questions. They are questions for Herb Monsieur, who is a criminal defense attorney with a long practice in Knoxville. And Herb Monsieur on Tuesday spoke before an assembled host of journalists and activists and county commissioners and librarians and other archivists and county clerks and others who are concerned about and have an interest in a proposal before the Tennessee General Assembly or Study Committee that would effectively tax you, my listener, for your access to public records. And Herb Monsieur, what does my listener need to know about what was said generally Tuesday in Knoxville at this hearing, one of 3 going on this week in Tennessee? What was being discussed, and then tell us what your position is or was at the time.
David, generally, I think 30 people spoke in Knoxville. I read in the newspaper maybe 50 spoke in Nashville, and I believe there's a hearing going on in Memphis at the present time. And the issue was being dealt with by what's known as the Tennessee Open Records Council for the state of Tennessee, a agency set up a number of years ago to basically monitor open meetings requests, open records requests throughout the state. Miss Ann Butterworth, I believe it is the counsel for that particular office. Earlier this year, it's my understanding that this came about because of a request that was made by a gentleman in Loudoun County, Tennessee, for a number of records pertaining to a county commission rule that had been adopted. And Loudoun, for whatever reason, chose to send his request to their private attorney that had been hired to represent the county. The private attorney apparently reviewed the documents that had been given to him and ended up sending the county a bill of some $7,000 or $6,000 at $250 an hour to review the records before this man got the records. And Loudoun County screamed foul and got the attention of some legislators who considered or have either introduced a bill to be considered in the next legislative session as to whether or not to charge citizens fees for providing records to be inspected by the citizens. Now, David, the key words here are the difference between an inspection and getting copies of records. The rule in Tennessee to date has been that a person can make a request to inspect records, and those records must be produced to the person for them to inspect them. If the person requests copies of the records, then under the current Tennessee law, the agency can charge a reasonable fee, and there's a schedule of reasonable fees for preparing those copies. And those such as myself who often use the public records provisions have found that many people who are custodians of the public's records in this state, for some reason, feel those records belong to them. And they don't want private people, particularly private people who may not share their interest in examining the records or may wish to do so with a critical view of people that are in government. They throw up roadblocks wherever possible. And this cost of copying has been a tool that has been used. And although the copies, I think the reasonable copy rate is 15 cents a page, maybe it's gone up to 20. I'm not sure what it is right now. But they also can charge a hourly rate for their employees to assemble and to copy the matters. And that quite often becomes very expensive. It certainly becomes very expensive to a citizen who is simply being a watchdog or a public-spirited citizen who is trying to determine what their government is doing. So this problem with regard to copying, and I want to emphasize the word copying again, has been a roadblock and has been used to discourage and to prevent people from broad access to copies of public documents. Now, those in government who feel that they're being burdened by allowing the people's records to be examined by the people have continued their efforts. For example, many agencies will not permit a person to look at a record and take a photograph of it with their cell phone to do. Or in my case, I always, when I go for an inspection, take with me a portable scanner and I scan the records. Well, they won't let you do that. Why is uncertain, and that's sort of an unclear area right now. But what they're doing is they're using the cost issue. That is, you've got to pay to carry something out of that agency, and you can't do it through modern technology of either sticking a thumb drive in a computer and downloading it onto a thumb drive, or scanning it, or making a Xerox copy. You can't do that, or printing it off of a computer. And it's nothing more than this bias, if you will, against people that public officials, some public officials, and I want to emphasize that, have. Now, David, my point of view that I expressed Tuesday evening was completely different, I think, from the other 29 people that spoke. And it has been my position as an attorney, and particularly an attorney who has been involved in extensive litigation for the public's interest and the people's rights to know and the rights of the people under the constitutions of the United States and the Tennessee Constitution. That's where my practice has gravitated toward. And so my presentation was not whether it is wise or needed to charge people for the other part of the Public Records Act, and that is to simply inspect the document. Until this issue came to the forefront in Loudoun, if a person or citizen wanted to only inspect but not copy public records, then they were entitled to do so without charge. That is the issue that is proposed by the current legislation, and that is whether or not public officials can charge individuals and the press for simply inspecting public records. Now, the 29 other people that spoke, of course, said that this is going to be nothing more than a pretext by which you get these huge bills for the right to go in and look at the records. And they were very well spoken. They made very good presentations, and I wholeheartedly support what they said. However, I presented something that apparently no one else has looked at, and that is the Tennessee Constitution. We often, in this day and age, completely ignore the constitutions when it's convenient for people who are in the power of government. If they don't want to deal with something, they just ignore the Constitution. And Tennessee has done that with its Public Records Act.
Are you saying the Public Records Act has a problem already? This is David Tulis. We're talking with Herb Monsieur, who's a Knoxville attorney with a long criminal defense practice and kind of a special interest in the Constitution. Herb Monsieur, are you saying that in a nutshell, is there a problem with the current Open Records Act in Tennessee?
Absolutely. The Public Records Act is a misnomer. The Public Records Act is really a Confidential Records Act. While it says that the public records of Tennessee shall be open, it then goes out to permit every agency in the state of Tennessee and list multiple exemptions that make records confidential that nobody can keep up with, and allows agencies to make their own records.
How many exemptions are there?
In violation of the Tennessee Constitution.
How many exemptions are
there? David, I want to read to you, as I did to the people Tuesday night, what my position is.
Go ahead.
And I'm reading to you from Article 1 of the Tennessee Constitution, which in Tennessee is the Tennessee Bill of Rights. It is substantially different from the federal Constitution Bill of Rights contained in the first 10 amendments. Now, I am reading to you verbatim Article 1, Section 9 of the Tennessee Constitution, and it says,
don't miss a word.
Freedom of speech and press, that the printing presses shall be free to every person to examine the proceedings of the legislature or any branch or officer of the government, and no law shall ever be made to restrain the right thereof. That's what our Constitution says.
Well, all right, that seems self-evident.
The Public Records Act restrains the right of the people to what they gave themselves in Article 1, Section 19. You cannot read Article 1, Section 19 and not come away with the conclusion that the people of this, that our forefathers, the people, gave to the people the right to examine the proceedings of every agency in the state of Tennessee. Now, that's not in the federal Constitution. And furthermore, not only did they give that right, they then said something that you very seldom find and no law shall ever be made to restrain the right thereof. Now,
so what you're saying is the Open Records Act is
putting it to the current legislation, and that is to charge for the right to examine, that is, the right to inspect government records. That's a law restricting that right that is strictly prohibited by the Tennessee Constitution. The Tennessee Constitution says that the right to examine shall be free. Now, the word free, of course, is a word that may mean free in the sense that you could do it, or free in the sense that there's no charge for it. But either way you cut it, any law that basically taxes the people or charges the people for the right to exercise their constitutional right is a right that restricts that right.
Is an authority that restricts that right.
So, David, it was my view Monday night, Tuesday night. It is my view today. It has been my view that we're debating the wrong thing in these debates that are going on. While we have all of these wonderful people debating the wisdom of charging for a constitutional right, they should, in fact, be debating whether or not the Constitution prohibits the legislature from doing what it's considering to do. There's where the debate should be, and there's where the litigation is going to be. Now, some people may try to twist the words of Article 1, Section 19 to whatever agenda they may have to try to tell us as the people that it says something that it doesn't say. You know, sort of like we listen to a presidential debate and then we have people tell us what the people said. I mean, it's
right.
So we can't listen to what they said. We have to have spin doctors tell us what they said. Well, you know, they exist in all forms of our current government and certainly exist with regard to politicians and the legislature when they want to do something to take one of our rights from us. But let's listen to this, and this is the second thing, and we'll wrap up here in a minute. With regard to the right I just read to you, and that was verbatim out of the Constitution, there is another right that's just not talked about in Tennessee. The courts don't talk about it. Government doesn't talk about it. And it's Article 11, Section 16. And this provision of the Tennessee Constitution is again not found in the federal Constitution. And what it says is the Bill of Rights to remain inviolate. Now, keep in mind, Article 1, Section 19 is a Bill of Rights in Tennessee. All of the rights in Article 1 are Tennessee Bill of Rights. So, what our Constitution says is follows, quote, "The Declaration of Rights hereto prefixed is declared to be a part of the Constitution of this state and shall never be violated on any pretense whatsoever. And to guard against the transgression of the high powers we have delegated, we declare that everything in the Bill of Rights contained is accepted out of the general powers of government and shall forever remain inviolate."
What does the word accepted mean?
They don't have that power.
Okay, so accepted means cut out from, not included.
We created a government in Tennessee that consists of three branches. The executive, which is our governor, the legislature, which is the House and Senate, and the judiciary. We created that government. The people created that government. They then turned around and said the Bill of Rights that we have made and given to ourselves cannot, under any pretense, be taken from us by the branches of government we created. They don't have the authority to do that.
So Herb Monsieur of Knoxville, you're the Knoxville criminal defense attorney. You're saying that the General Assembly, by the Open Records Act, has taken from the people their right to have full and free access to all the government's documents, all the government's secrets,
inspect,
if you will.
To examine.
To inspect.
That is correct. Yes, sir. The Public Records Act was unconstitutional when it was passed. It is a misnomer. What the Public Records Act is the legislature has created exceptions and confidentiality to those records that the people of the state of Tennessee said that they shall at all times have free right to examine, and that no law shall ever be passed to restrain that right. Overlooked it. Just overlooked it. Because you see, it's convenient for the legislature to overlook the Constitution. In this case, they don't want to look to the Constitution because they want to restrict the rights of us as the people of Tennessee to access to know what our government's doing. That's the agenda.
We're talking with Herb Monsier. Herb, my presentation was quite different from yours, and I'm seeing and hearing your presentation again. I'm seeing how short my own arguments have come. My argument was somewhat pragmatic. I figured I'd say something that no one else was going to say. I said that the state government is worth $97 billion, which includes the $45 billion slush fund, which is the Tennessee Comprehensive Retirement System. Together, they're worth $79 billion. And isn't it ridiculous to think that an entity that valuable, that rich, would charge dimes, nickels, and $1,000 bills to citizens like my listener wanting to look at records? You're saying that really is irrelevant. That's an irrelevant argument.
No, David. I'm not saying it's irrelevant.
Well, you're implying that it is, and you're not wrong to do so.
All 29 people that spoke in opposition to this, including your economic analysis, are right on.
Well, but your point is much more fundamental.
Subordinate to the Constitution. If the Constitution prohibits it, we don't ever get into that dialogue.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So in other words, your argument is much more fundamental.
We have been our government has changed the playing field from the constitutional prohibition to sitting down to a debate among the Davids and the other people as to whether or not this should happen in terms of whatever agenda somebody has. Well, that debate should never take place when our Constitution prohibits it. But they will not debate the Constitution. They will not address the Constitution. And the reason they won't debate it and the reason they won't address it is because they don't have an answer.
Are you planning litigation?
The Council of Open Records Act. Now, I'm confident. I don't know her personally. I have absolutely no view as to whether she does a good job, bad job, agenda. None of that. Strike that out of our discussion. But do you think she's going to address the constitutionality of the fact that she shouldn't exist?
No.
I mean, of course not. All of these debates of all of these committees, these advisory committees, all of the Senate debates, all of the legislature, do you think that they're going to go back and debate and say, hey, wait a minute, this Public Records Act's unconstitutional? All of these exceptions we're talking about, all these charges that we're talking about. Now, once again, I want to finish because I'm sure I've used way too much of your time.
You have about a minute left.
Okay, I want to finish with the point I made at the beginning. There is a distinction to be made between the right to inspect and the right to charge for the cost of a copy. Those are two different issues. And I think that it is appropriate that there be a reasonable charge. If I, as an attorney, go to a clerk's office, I'm going to have to pay for any records I get. And that's a reasonable cost to pay. But for me to walk in to a clerk's office and want to inspect, just look at documents, they can't charge me for doing that. I've already paid for it in my taxes. That's what they're there for. They're there to uphold the Constitution. They're there to uphold the constitutional right of every citizen of this state to inspect the proceedings of every agency of this state. All of this TBI secrecy.
Well, Herb Montes turned to me today.
Who do I send the bill to?
Listen, how can right quick, how can my listener call you? Give me your phone number or give him your phone number in case he wants to call you with a legal problem. You got half a minute.
My telephone number is 546-7746. More importantly, my email address is Monsier, MONCIER, at Monsier Law, one word, no periods.
After this briefly cool start, expect lots of sunshine for today. Warming up, highs near 85. Tonight, lows closer to 60. For Saturday, lots of sunshine, still dry, highs very warm into the upper 80s with more clouds, lower 80s on Sunday. When it comes to your salary, you may know what you want, but not what you can get. Learn the ranges for accounting and finance by visiting accounttemps.com/salary center. That's AccountTemps, a Robert Half company. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hey, all you gun enthusiasts! Carter Shooting Supply has just bought a crazy load of guns and is having a crazy huge sale event. Going on now, a huge inventory of Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, and Taurus all on sale. Taurus guns have a mail-in rebate for $25 to $50. All long guns and all ammo on sale too, just in time for hunting season. Come in and take advantage of this crazy huge sale event. Going on now at Carter Shooting Supply. Or shop from home by going to cartershootingsupply.com. Highway 58, Harrison. Check our prices before you buy.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at
Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
We do the best quality work. We have the best customer service, the most competitive prices around.
Cell Surgeon, a painless operation to fix your sick device.
Well, if you have a cheap charger or something that's not really designed for your phone, it can mess with your battery. It can actually fry your phone. So you need to make sure you have a quality product that's going to be designed for your phone.
Cell Surgeon, your smartphone doctor is in the house at the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
If you charge it in the morning and, by noon, it's at, 50% under normal use, that means your battery's pretty much dead. And once you've reached that point, it starts to deteriorate.
Cell Surgeon, call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com.
We do free estimates. If your phone's not working properly, bring it in. We're more happy to take a look at it and diagnose it and see what we think is wrong with it at no charge. Most phone repairs can be done in 30 minutes or less.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
Don't take it in the bathroom. Don't ever put it in your back pocket. And don't charge your phone while you're sleeping.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. That's cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. Cell Surgeon, your smart device doctor is in the house.
Tired of insurance companies? Tired of doctors that won't spend time with you? Do something different. Leave the sick care model of medicine and come to Dr. Danielle Mitchell, the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health, where we're interested in long-term health solutions, not the quick fixes. Come see me, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, at the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. I'm all about the long-term healthcare solutions and doing what's best. On the web, you can find me at ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. That's ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Or call us at 875-1005, 875-1005, or find us on social media, Facebook, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, or the ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Let's go, ya!
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at EJ Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Soddy Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's EJ Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156. An alternative to insurance for people of Christian interest is Samaritan Ministries, a cost-sharing group whose fellow members contribute to your medical expenses. Hi, David Tulis here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga. CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. Debate is underway now on a House bill that would strip Planned Parenthood of federal funding. Live to Capitol Hill and CBS News correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
The one-year defunding measure is a response to undercover videos released this summer purporting to show doctors haggling over the price of fetal tissue. Planned Parenthood says those videos were heavily edited and misleading. Arizona Republican Trent Franks considers them revealing.
The veil has now been pulled back, and all of us now see the walls behind the abortion industry.
The measure is likely to be blocked by Senate Democrats, and that's why some conservatives want a defunding provision in any spending bill to avoid a government shutdown. Whether Republican leaders will heed that call remains to be seen. Frank?
Donald Trump is taking flack for not correcting the man who told him President Obama is a Muslim. In a tweet, Hillary Clinton called Trump's non-response disturbing. Her main rival for the Democratic nomination, Senator Bernie Sanders, used stronger language on CBS this morning.
I think it's a disgrace. I thought we would be on that. It's an outrage.
Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie said he would have handled the question differently. A spokesman said Trump didn't hear the question. The defense is taking over at a hearing to determine whether a soldier captured by the Afghan Taliban and held for 5 years should be tried as a deserter. CBS's Peter King is at the hearing in San Antonio.
We've seen armed troops positioned.
Bo Bergdahl's attorney says he'll have 4 witnesses today, but he won't say if Bergdahl will be one of them. Eugene Fidel's been trying to get the military to release more than 370 pages of transcript from Bergdahl's statement and interview with an Army general, and says we may hear more about that today.
One by one, doors to Western Europe are slamming shut on Middle Eastern war refugees and other migrants pouring into the Balkans. Sky News correspondent Alex Crawford has the latest on how Hungary is sealing its border with Croatia.
We've seen armed troops positioned in fields, in armed Humvees on the lookout, all positioned along this border to try and close another gap.
More barriers to normal relations with Cuba are coming down. CBS's Pam Coulter has that.
The administration is making changes designed to make it easier to travel to Cuba and do business there. For example, people in authorized travel groups will be able to go by ship without stops in third countries and will be able to open bank accounts in Cuba. The easing of sanctions will also allow the expansion of telecommunications and internet-based services.
A friend of Dylan Roof, the suspect in the Charleston church shooting, is scheduled for a first court appearance. CBS News correspondent Jim Crisula.
Joey Meek has been charged with lying to federal investigators and concealing information from them. The FBI says Meek told agents he did not know about the specifics of Roof's plan when he actually did.
Roof is charged with murdering 9 members of a historic African-American congregation. In early trading, the Dow Industrials are down 269 points. This is CBS News.
Hi, folks. Alan Thicke here. You know, some things in life are just too serious to take chances on, and owing money to the IRS is definitely one of those. The IRS has the power to garnish your paycheck. They can levy your bank account, even take your home or business. Seriously. Thankfully, with one simple call, you can start solving your tax debt once and for all. Optima Tax Relief is the leading tax resolution firm in the nation. They have over 250 professionals. They have an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and the trust of thousands of satisfied clients. Optima's attorneys can immediately protect you from aggressive collections because they are experts in the Fresh Start Initiative. That's a special IRS debt forgiveness program that could save you thousands. Don't wait till it's too late. Get serious. Call Optima now for your free consultation.
Call 800-956-6166. 800-956-6166. 800-956-6166.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
A new Las Vegas tourist attraction should appeal to Wayne Newton fans. CBS's Bill Whitney tells us it's a museum, which used to be Newton's over-the-top estate.
They're calling it Graceland West. Visitors to the 52-acre compound called Casa de Shenandoah will see the entertainer's house and memorabilia, his luxury cars and private jet, and his collection of exotic animals, including Arabian horses. Tour prices start at $35. There's a VIP package that includes Newton himself as the tour guide. He left the building in 2013. Bill Whitney, CBS News.
The owner of a Trenton, New Jersey welding business is willing to forgive a man who stole a cell phone from his shop but returned it a few days later with a letter of apology. But the police aren't. A spokesman says if the thief really wants to do the right thing, he should turn himself in. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
Meet Rachel. She's speaking straight.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
There's a story about how officers flying over Walker County have found 11 grow sites in the southern part of the county where there are 113 mature plants found that would have had a street value of $135,000, according to TV12's Mandy Odom. And there's also news today about how Frito-Lay is going to be offering a special poofter chip, a rainbow chip to support the lug butt community. TV9 has that story inspired by the lug butt pride flag, which of course is the flag borrowing from the scriptural account of Noah coming out of the ark after the flood. The rainbow is God's promise of really two things. One, that he has the authority to judge men in totality if he wants to, but also the rainbow reflects that God is merciful to men if they repent. And that was, of course, what Noah did. He was a preacher. He preached repentance. He told people before the flood came to stop hating each other, stop stealing from each other, defrauding each other, and abusing each other, and fear God. That was his message. And very few people at that time listened. And so the lug butt flag borrows from the scriptural promise of God's government. And every time you see a gay flag, remember that it is a flag of mercy and judgment together. And every homosexual who carries that flag has that option if he hasn't been a blasphemer against God, which is the sin that's not pardonable. He does have, as far as we can see, the prospect for God's grace. We are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, the station in which you report and the world decides. If you are thinking, as I am, in the direction of a major catastrophe, calamity, maelstrom in the national economy and the credit sector, make sure you have a plan B. Plan B could be your own business. And in that direction, think of Bruce Krebs, who runs Entrepreneur Source. In fact, one of the men at Panera Posse, which meets every Friday morning at 6:30 in Hickson, has had a consultation with Bruce Krebs and has landed upon a possible parallel business to what he's doing now. Bruce Krebs runs Entrepreneur Source. His number is 875-5621, 875-5621. Get in with Bruce Krebs now and start working on your plan for restaurant in South Saudi Daisy. Also, that is relief of a different order entirely, of course. Loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, and other wonderful things from the hand of Maria Hernandez, a genuine Mexican at Delia's. And mention our station and you'll get a free iced tea, or make an order of the special for today, which is the taco salad. Just ask for the radio special, and that's the taco salad. It's $1 off, $6.25. My name is David Tulis, and we are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. This is the number 4 show. We've got a great lineup. Eric Judd, we've got Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity. In the morning early, we've got Daybreak USA news and analysis with a real personal touch, and Cowboy Up with Text in the evening after our drive home show run by Russell, the kid who has never set foot in a classroom, and yet at 20 years old is news director of a real genuine radio station. You know, we're not just putting blog posts out there. We are a real genuine radio station. We do thank you, our listener, for making that possible. I've got some questions about the Muslim religion, about Mohammedan thinking, about the Prophet Muhammad, who is the founder in the 7th century of this great and marvelously violent religious political system. And to help me along, I have here with me Amos Taj, who is a retired Methodist minister. He's a man born in India. In fact, he was born so long ago that he was in the part of India that in 1947 was carved out to become Pakistan. And Amos Taj left India, Pakistan in 1960, and is an American, the American with the Punjab flavor, if you will. He's the father of two children, grown, a boy and a girl, of course, now grown, and they have 2 children, 2 grandchildren among them, and 4 great-grandchildren. Well, Amos, welcome to our show.
Thank you, David.
Well, we met at the event with Dr. Bill Warner at Stewart Heights Baptist Church, and we were both listening to Dr. Warner's discussion about the Muslim threat, if you will. It is a threat that is not residing among the people who are Muslims so much as the ideas and doctrines and dogmas of the Islamic religion. Now your background? You're a Christian. Were you ever from that part of the world? Were you ever a Muslim?
No, I was never a Muslim. Neither my family, as far as I know. They might have some kind of dissent for religious understanding with the Hindu religion, but my family has never introduced to Islam. But I grew up in a country like Pakistan up till 25 years of my life, where I came in contact with a lot of Muslims, had many friends, and then also I talked with Ahmadiyya Muslims who always want to discuss, and had a lot of debates working with the Presbyterian missionaries where I usually attended the church, and I was more familiar with that kind of Presbyterian church. We had to always go evangelize, maybe in the streets, and we had I had quite a bit of time with Muslims, talking, understanding, learning their religion, knowing what they believe, and of course, purpose was to inform Muslims about what I believed and we Christians believe.
Well, what was the argument that Dr. Warner from Nashville, he works for the Center for the Study of Political Islam. What was the argument he made, and how much on the mark is he?
I was very much impressed with Dr. Warner. Dr. Warner, I think, is very well informed of Muslim faith, Muslim textbooks, and he was presenting his message not from the top of his head or from the just blowing air. He was very much familiar with Islam, and he presented true Islam that through the Islamic texts, Quran, Hadith, Muhammad's life. Informed Dr. Warner was when he spoke. He actually is a physicist, has PhD, but he studied Islam. You don't have to be a theological Muslim doctor to understand Islam. Anybody can read, study, and know Islam if you're interested. And I think that everybody should be interested in Islam, because Islam is a hot topic in our society and throughout the world. What is happening through Islam, with Islam, the Muslims, what they are doing, and that what every Christian should be aware of Islam.
What are some common mistakes that people like me and my listener make when we consider the Muslim world? How do we misunderstand it? Do we have any common mistakes in our perception of Islam?
Mostly, I noticed that Americans, they are very kind and they are very intolerant of other religions. But being intolerant and being compassionate and kind, they forget that what other group of people. Now, we have never heard about Hindus raising a hell in this country, never heard Sikhs or any other religion, but Muslims. And I think that Muslims are the people that we talk and tackle and study and hear different debates. And many people like Dr. Warner, we hear them because there is something about Muslim religion that we all need to know. I know that the controversy on the sheriff, they are in the newspaper almost every day in the people's opinions. Some defend sheriff, and some they hate his remarks, and but they really don't understand what sheriff was doing about Islam, saying about Islam, and what truly Islam is. And I think this is what we need to understand before we give our opinions about being compassionate and understanding and accepting other minority religions. We are very politically correct people. We don't want to offend other people. But I think if speak the truth, we speak truth in love and with compassion, and not just to avoid the truth. And we need to talk about Islam and learn about Islam. No, Middle East, rest of the world, and even in the United States and European countries.
Well, you're making reference, Amos Todd, a retired Methodist minister, you're making reference to Jim Hammond, the Hamilton County Sheriff, who said in his most notable quote is that Islam is communism with a God. In other words, a totalitarian political system, kind of vertically integrated with the deity at the top. And he says that Islam is a source of potential violence and danger, not just in the Mideast, not just at the World Trade Center 10 years ago or so, 2001, but even here in Chattanooga. So what is, in a nutshell, what is Sheriff Hammond saying? And evaluate, if you would, for my listener, how accurate he is in his assessment.
I think that some people have given their opinions that Sheriff did not know anything about communism and he didn't know anything about Islam. I think that if Sheriff had said fascists, those like Mussolini's and like Hitler, I would say more that Islamic religion is like Hitler's. God is he's the dictator, and he dictates his plans and his through Muhammad, who becomes the mouthpiece of Allah and dictates over on the whole world.
Because Islam promises that before the end of time, every knee shall bow to Allah, right?
Oh yes, very much. If we read about Islam, study Islam, I think that we will come to know, not that we want to downgrade Islam, but just present the truth about Islam. Like, for instance, Muhammad himself, on his last his address, that was his farewell address, he said, that was in 632 AD, he said that I was ordered to fight all men until they say there is no God but Allah. That means that Muslim, Christian God, Jewish God, Hindu gods, no count, but only Allah. And on this legacy of Muhammad, these words, then we have many people through history. Salahuddin, he said the same thing in different words. But also recent years, Hayatullah Khomeini, Ruhollah Khomeini, he said, we will export our revolution throughout the world until the calls, there is no God but Allah, like Muhammad said. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, are echoed all over the world. And that's what today, new Khomeini, this supreme leader of Iran, we have heard him harp all the time, death to America, death to Israel, And not only that, but death to Europe and death to whole world, that they want to change all governments and all political systems, that Islam will totally rule the world. So their agenda is to rule the world, like Muhammad said, that fight all men until they say there is no God but their God and their prophet Muhammad. So they have a big agenda.
We're talking with Amos Taj, who was born in India before the Punjabi part of India became Pakistan. He left India in 1960 and is a retired Methodist minister. His name is Amos Taj, and we're hearing about we're discussing the imperial claims of the Muslim religion against the whole world, so that in the end, even Christianity is suppressed. Well, Amos Taj, as a Christian, you serve and worship a God who also has a claim upon the whole world and who promises over time to bring all the nations to bow the knee before the Lord Jesus Christ. How do these two systems differ?
I don't think that you have heard any minister or any religious Christian leader ever threatened death to Middle East Muslim countries, even though most of those Muslim countries today, Muslims will claim that they are Islamic countries. They used to be Muslim countries, Christian countries. And look, they're even still getting the Christians out of those countries. Christians are more tolerant in the United States. Of course, we have debates and about Islam and religion, but we don't pick up the swords and guns and start burning their mosques and throwing them out, or they have freedom of religion in this country. But Christianity wins people with the love, with Jesus himself proclaimed with the very compassionately that he showed his love, that not any soul should perish, but they all must be saved. Even he calls everyone who they can become children of God. Of course, it's a blasphemy for Muslims, but God is a compassionate God, like a father, and he accepts them. Not that he is threatening that I'm going to kill you, like Ahmed the dummy would say. The Muslims are determined to kill you.
Well, my listener has a question, Amos Taj. Did the assassin in Chattanooga on July 16th, named Muhammad Abdulaziz, did he exhibit signs of being radicalized, or was he, is he more, as I would propose, an ordinary Muslim man who was well versed in Islamic theology and who took upon himself the act of jihad against the American military installations to make himself right with God? In other words, he wasn't radicalized. He was simply an ordinary mainstream Muslim man who came to a right realization of the claims of his God upon him. Was he radicalized or not?
Well, even almost 2 months have passed since that event. FBI or any governmental agencies have not declared what really motives are the man who caused that tragedy was radicalized or not. He was gone to Middle East several months. We don't know who he come across with and who he talked with. Of course, there are a lot of Muslims there. He had friends, he had family, and he went to Muslim mosque there, perhaps. We have no idea of that thing so far. Nobody declared that. But he was very much Muslim. He was influenced by his beliefs, his doctrines, the teachings of Islam. He went to mosque here, even though he was a little flunky. He was, they say that he was depressed and he was on drugs and he was whatever. But can you imagine that he targeted two targets that were the soldiers, the servicemen? He knew what he's doing. He shot servicemen. And I think that right after the Ramadan, the last day of Ramadan, what he did, he wanted to become a martyr, because that is the straight way to paradise. He was looking for paradise, and he did that, and he knew that he's going to get killed. He's not going to get away with what he was doing, but he did, I think, with the belief and very much indoctrinated of Muslim faith and Muslim religion, that even though he might be killed, what he's doing, he'll end up in paradise. A lot of good things in paradise.
Yeah, a lot of good things in paradise. And so there's in Christianity, we would call, there's a doctrine of I think it's assurance of faith, and you have Christians, God's children have security of comfort and security of knowing that they're His children. Muhammad Abdulaziz, you're suggesting, found that with the act of jihad. He didn't have it before, but in his great courageous act, he found the assurance, which is of a religious nature, right? And his act was political. It was a paramilitary act, but he found favor with God by this good and great work of killing 5 Americans.
Now, every Muslim, the goal for every Muslim is that go to heaven, to paradise. That's their goal. Now, because their goal is to find that it's a physically what they can have in this world, but they can have there.
We'll be right back. Hang on.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
After this briefly cool start, expect lots of sunshine for today. Warming up, highs near 85. Tonight, lows closer to 60. For Saturday, lots of sunshine, still dry, highs very warm into the upper 80s with more clouds, lower 80s on Sunday. When it comes to your salary, you may know what you want, but not what you can get. Learn the ranges for accounting and finance by visiting accounttemps.com/salary center. That's Account Temps, a Robert Half company. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia. The enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
That smells so good. Smells like a big Italian dinner. But you're going to walk out with 2. Buy 1 hot pizza, get a 1 for free. 2 pizzas. You got the 2 for the price of 1 at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. My favorite Italian restaurant of all the time. Now, I'm living in Hickson. I go to Raphael's right down the street in Hickson Pike, right near Highland Plaza. You're in Saudi Daisy? Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria in Saudi Daisy. Just next to Saudi Daisy Church of God. Hey, you're on Signal Mountain. There's a Raphael's Italian Restaurant and a Pizzeria. It's right on the main drag. You're going to love the pasta, the pizza. Buy 1 hot pizza, get a 1 for free. 2 pizzas. You got the 2 for the price of 1 at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Tastes so good. Bring the whole family. Come on, Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Mangia. Salute.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducks. Call now.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. The Marines may not be looking for a few good women to serve in some frontline combat roles.
The Corps has reportedly expected to ask the Pentagon to keep certain positions closed to women. The report comes after the Marine Corps conducted a months-long simulated combat experiment. Among the results, that women were injured twice as often as their male counterparts.
Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland. Donald Trump under fire for not correcting a man who says the president is not an American and is a Muslim. Now out with a statement saying
the bigger issue is that Obama is waging a war against Christians in this country.
Fox's Martha McCallum. And a man who stole a cell phone from a shop in New Jersey, returning it 4 days later with a note apologizing, saying he was in a desperate situation out of work. His kids are in need and he's sorry. Owners of the business say they're not interested in pursuing charges, but police say detectives are still carrying out the investigation. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Our number here in the studio is 800-8949. That's 800-8949. This is David Tulis. We are at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And the news is, I believe it's news, is that Lieutenant Commander Tim White, our hero here in Chattanooga, firing at Muhammad Abdulaziz, the Muslim attacker, the faithful martyr, the lover of Allah, who died July 16 in a massacre against Americans. This man who fired upon him with his private weapon, a Navy officer, Lieutenant Commander Tim White, is not going to be charged. And the quote is from his, not from his commander, but from a commander, Charles Summers, in the Public Affairs Office of the U.S. Navy Reserve, is that there is no pending case against Commander White. There are, quote, no plans to charge Commander White. There is no case against, that's a quote, Commander White. And to me, that does sound ambiguous, even though to you, my listener, it sounds pretty categorically true that this family man, this Christian, very active Christian man, by the way, a homeschool dad of 6 children. He has 1 child enwombed in his wife Franicia. They're expecting. He is not going to be charged. So I'm not sure. I'm presenting that in my story today at Nooganomics.com as fairly definitive, and we just have to see if that suggestion is borne out in the future. We are talking with Amos Taj here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and he is a Pakistani. He is a Punjabi from the Punjab province of Pakistan that was seeded in the carving up of India in 1947 to make Pakistan. So he is a Pakistani. Has always been he has either been a lost soul or a Christian. He's never been a Muslim. But we are talking about the Muslim theology, and we are brought to you by Chattanooga Sports Institute. Dr. Danielle Mitchell. She is a terrific physician who runs a family practice with orthopedic and urgent care angles, very sports oriented. And she's running her business on the cash pay model. And that is part of local economy's great counter-revolution against modern debt-based, third-party payment-based systems. Her name is Danielle Mitchell. It's Chattanooga Sports Institute. Online is ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. And I also wanted to mention Sky Aerial Services, which is your drone specialist. The number is 521-0284, 521-0284. And Eric will at Sky Aerial Services provide great photography of your event, your lot, your property, your real estate, your boat trip, maybe. Just work out the details with him. My name is David Tulis, and we are we want to ask Amos Taj, who is a former minister, a retired Methodist minister, about the mysteries of Islam, including not just the ones where you have decapitated heads in a row on the ground with the blood seeping into the sand. Not just that. That's pretty scary, but that's basic Muslim theology in action there. But maybe on the domestic front, we have something else, and that is the Muslim theory of women. A woman is worth half a man, so in other words, a man is worth 2 women. And there are other amazing doctrines which the Quran, the Hadith, the Muslim commentary, and a third volume in the trilogy called the Sirah, which is the biography of Muhammad. They all declare certain things and teach certain things. The newer documents overwriting the old, if you will. The peaceful ones are overwritten by the militant, jihad-oriented ones. Amos, what is so remarkable about the Muslim theory of women? Who are women in the Muslim world? What is their value? How are they treated?
Well, there's a lot of difference among being a Muslim man and a Muslim woman. Now, women, in one sentence, I can say that women are for pleasure, and only for pleasure, and not only on this earth, but also in the looking forward to be there. They try to do all kind of good works and everything, what Muhammad says and what the Sharia says and what the Hadith and other all holy texts say. But their main goal is to enjoy paradise, because there'll be women for those Muslims who live the righteous life, and most of all, especially for those who die, give their life for Islam and give their life fighting for Allah. They call it jihad. They are going to be directly, right away when they die, go to straight to paradise, and they are women, 72, and maybe more.
So Commander Tim White's 9mm bullet enters the brain of potentially Muhammad Abdulaziz, and the moment he dies, he's immediately having an orgy.
Oh yeah. And also, I don't want to use this, what I'm going to say, this thought, that Muslims believe, and the Quran says this, that they will have erection 24 hours. Now, that's the pleasure that they'll enjoy women. Some people wonder, what you going to do with 72? Well, they can have 72 because they will be erection. They have erection all the time.
A perpetual Viagra-induced
absolutely, and
theory.
Cialis too. So women are for pleasure, not only on this earth, but also in with the Muslims understanding their beliefs and doctrines. But we talk about it, and I think we should put more emphasis in the United States and in Western society, because women's human rights are being violated, which is prescribed by the religion of Islam.
How are they being violated?
Oh, they are violated in so many different ways. I wish we had plenty of time. We have other things to talk about, I think, David. But I have many references here that I brought with me.
Please share some of them, Amos Taj.
Okay. We have references here, like read Quran, and these are in the Quran, and there are Sharias and other, but 78, Surah 78, 31 to 33, Surah 45, 70 to 74, 46, 10 to...
Well, we don't need the citations as much as we need the content of these provisions. What are some of the points?
Yeah. Content of these references, that I have several of them, and also in the Sharia and all, is that for those who are fearing Allah, they have a blissful abode with women for companions, and there will be beautiful virgins. Now, those women are not just going to be like Khadija, who already had several children, was older than Muhammad, but they'll be all virgin. And this is what Muslims like to have, virgins, women in heaven, and also, of course, in here. Another thing that Muslim religion teaches about women is that, for instance, you are gone to Nashville and you stay overnight there. and you want to have sex. So you pick up a woman and marry her for night, and when you're through next morning, you divorce her and go on your way. And this is permitted and acceptable.
Well, is the woman who is married that way, does she have all the rights of a Muslim woman, or is she somehow a slave of the owner of that?
That's a sex slave. She is just for overnight purposes. That's in Islam that is permissible. Given permission to.
So women that Muhammad owned, he passed around with his lieutenants. Is that right?
Not his women, not his women, but all those women that they got in the fight
in combat.
They divided, just like today the ISIS do. They get the women and they divide among themselves. That's why perhaps many Muslims were willing, and many European and American Muslim young people are going there because they might get a woman, I guess, there, or whatever the purpose. But women are considered, they are slaves in every way, and women are creatures. They're inferior than men in every way, physically, intellectually, and morally. And
why do they have to be covered up?
Covered up.
Why are they always in a veil, and why are their bodies completely hidden under sheets?
In Quran, Muhammad wanted his wives to be covered up because those Bedouins, when they come in Medina, in the mosque where Muhammad lived, that they'll flirt with his wives. And Muhammad, he didn't want those Bedouins, Muslims, to. So he created parda. I mean, the veil, so that they may not see them, and if they need to talk, the women will talk from behind the curtain. But then it became anything Muslim Muhammad did. It is for Muslims to follow is a honor. So many Muslims today, they follow this, and women cover themselves. Of course, they need to cover their hair, except their eyes. But it has become kind of fashion in the modern world that women don't cover all. Just like in Afghanistan or part of Pakistan, a lot of women, they put just like shuttlecock, play that badminton, shuttlecock, they are all the way covered. But
even playing badminton.
Badminton, yeah. But many Muslim women, you see, they just have a head scarf. And they have those tight pants. You can see through those tight pants. It's just has become a fashion, and just to show that they are Muslim, I guess. But otherwise, Muslim women are doing everything that modern women do in Pakistan and other countries too, and even in America.
But women cannot be in a car, let's say, with someone who's not an immediate blood relative. They're not free to go about liberally as in the West, are they?
I think that that treatment of women is only in Saudi Arabia, but some of the other Muslim countries, they have sort of accepted Western ways, and they have they are more lean toward Western culture and customs, and they have a kind of lenient toward women in covering and not driving. Only in Saudi Arabia.
In one of his conversations, Muhammad is quoted as saying, he said, "I also saw hellfire, and I've never seen such a terrible sight. I saw that the majority of the inhabitants were women." So his statement that most of the people in hell are women is understood to be a dogma in Islam. Why is it that there are fewer men in hell there than women? What brings that about?
There are several reasons, David, because morally and ethically, women are not equal to men, and therefore those who are less ethical and moral, they will be ending up in the hell as a fuel, to burning. And all infidels are going to be in hell, you and I too. So you better be careful. Be prepared.
Well, women are deemed also by Muhammad to be an affliction to men. Muhammad said, "If at all there is a bad omen, it is in the horse, the woman, and the house." On another occasion, he had said, "I have not left any affliction after me more harmful to men than women. So he viewed women as morally damaging to men. And so there really seem to be somewhat objectified, turned into objects by the doctrines of the Muslim religion.
No, this is in the hadith that women are so immoral, if they see a buffoon, that they'll have sex with him. So that's why most Muslims don't trust their women, and Muhammad himself did not trust women, because he was very much a women-minded man. And he thought that women are just like him, that he's always ready, and women, they're always ready for this with the strangers.
And that's why, and I've heard that or I've read that in Muslim cultures, sex is very perfunctory, and it's always the man. It's all about the man having his moment of satisfaction when he wants it, and whatever circumstance he wants it. It's never, as I understand it, tender as in Christianity. In Christianity, lovemaking is the man wins the woman, he woos the woman, he pets the woman, his wife, and she is equally anticipatory as he, and it's a mutual relationship. It's not a one-sided, one-way relationship that seems to be implied in the Muslim teachings about men and women.
A woman should always be ready for sex, whether she wants it or not. They never refuse her man. If she refuses, he has a right to beat her. This Muhammad, in the Quran, it says that if you are on a camel with your wife and you have a sex, want to have a sex, the woman you can have sex with her right on the sitting on the camel. Muslim men, and they treat their women just like they use somebody, and should never deny her husband.
Well, it seems to me that this is something that Americans who are concerned about Islamophobia should consider. Here in Chattanooga, we have Chris Brooks, we have CNR, which is Chattanooga News and Review on Facebook, which last week threw me out as a writer, as an editor, and as a man who posts the dissenting view to that. I'm not sure if defenders of Islam here are defending Islam in its content or just in its contentless form. We defend all people who are under attack by by people like me or by Sheriff Hammond. But what else? Amos Taj, you're a man from Pakistan. You're a retired Methodist minister. What else can you tell us about Islam and the relations between men and women and marriage in the Muslim religion?
Relationship of men and women?
Yes.
Well, one thing is that women are considered lower creatures, because physically and morally, intellectually, women are considered lower. This is perhaps one concept that really Muslims have toward women, which in America it won't work. Women are equal. They are physically have proven better, intellectually much better. So this is one difference in Islam, that women are treated inferior because they are not morally, physically able as men. So
well, that idea would have a long way to go here in the United States, here in Hamilton County and Chattanooga, because it would not be widely accepted. But Amos Taj, Mohammedanism or Islam has a very long-term view of its conquest. It's very patient, right? It's willing to work in the background, not just for months or years, but really for centuries. So people, the generations of Muslims in Chattanooga are willing to work and wait for centuries for this line of thinking to gain control and finally gain muscle in local economy and the free market here, to take, in effect, to take it over.
If we read the history, for instance, one instance I can mention, that Muhammad, during his own lifetime, he had conquered the whole Arabia, and it was his desire to conquer Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine. And did you know that Turkey became, the Roman Empire became very much Muslim country in 1453, that the Muslims attacked and they conquered. In 1453, it was become very much a Muslim country. But all that meantime, the Ghazis, they call them, those who have fought the wars in Islam, that they were always attacking, and usually from the people from the Central Asia, Turkmens, men, and they are always were attacking, little bit, and actually they had they had focused, to conquer Turkey, and they had a grazing sheep and goats and all, and they were looking for grazing places, and they were always going closer and closer and closer, make their camps to the border. And eventually, after Muhammad 632, that his desire was, in 1453, they conquered. And today, I believe that this is the same agenda that Muslims have today. It doesn't matter how long it'll take, but eventually you can see what has happened within the last 30, 40 years in the United States.
What has happened? What
has happened is that they're asking their rights. They have come here to live here and enjoy the prosperity of this country. And I think that when Sheriff, he wrote his, when he said in this speech to the in the
Pachyderm Club.
Pachyderm Club.
Yes.
I think it is not Sheriff who must accommodate Muslims' beliefs and their sensitivities. Rather, it's Muslims who must learn to live with our commitments to free speech and our customs and our traditions and our way of life and our values. They have come as guests here. Now, we have accommodated them every way, but when we speak something about Muslims, then they raise hell about Islam. And that is a step that they are taking more and more power, using our own constitutions, using our own
openness, our generosity, our grace,
and freedom of religion, and they are using these our laws against us.
Eventually, to suppress Christianity.
Oppress, and eventually their agenda is to take over. Look what happened in European countries. In Holland, they have their own Sharia zones. These are the small steps toward fulfilling their agenda.
And the small steps involve a constant sense of indignation, constantly being offended, constantly carping about their rights. And here we have, in our state, in our city, we have the most liberal, supposed liberal people. Or to my listener, or even to me, David Tulis. Well, Amos Todd. So, what is the antidote? What does my listener need to know? We have just about a minute. What does my listener need to know about practical steps? What can he do to, if you will, resist the tide, or to what steps are practically open to him to do?
I think just now recently that that how many those Syrians. Refugees are coming to European countries, and eventually they'll be coming some here.
They're coming here, yes.
Yeah, look what those refugees have come from Iraq, in Michigan, Dearborn. They, they have their own councilmen, and they're making their own laws.
But hasn't Christianity penetrated migrant immigrant populations in the United States? Is not Christianity doesn't it have a real prospect among immigrants here?
Well, that's true.
One would hope.
Yeah, but I think that that doesn't mean that when we accommodate Muslims in this country, they should take over our values and our system, way of life, and our social orders and that we have in this society. They are trying to take over.
So the some in the immigrant population come here, some will be bent on long-term warfare, but some are going to be open to the gospel message.
Maybe, but I think a Muslim is a Muslim. Unless they look at their textbooks, holy books, it'll be very, very difficult for Muslims to accept our ways of life. They need to change some of their texts.
Amos Taj, thank you for joining my listener and me here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Amos Taj is a retired Methodist minister born in India, and we've been talking about the great, amazing thread of Islam here in Chattanooga.
After this briefly cool start, expect lots of sunshine for today. Warming up, highs near 85. Tonight, lows closer to 60. For Saturday, lots of sunshine, still dry, highs very warm into the upper 80s with more clouds, lower 80s on Sunday. When it comes to your salary, you may know what you want, but not what you can get. Learn the ranges for accounting and finance by visiting accounttemps.com/salary center. That's Account Temps.